the tubes, the fluorescent tubes, are standard sizes. So actually, from looking at the video, they could figure out what the size of the tube was. Okay, so these are just, and that's the little one. John Waters like this at the opening, so that was kind of nice because a friend of mine who I'd known for a long time, I saw him at the opening and he said, "Did you know John Waters is here? You should go up and introduce yourself." And I was like, "I'm not going to do that." And then John Waters came up to me and he's like, "I like your sign." So it was much for fame, I guess. But so here, this is at the far end of the drill hall. This is where the signs were, and I think I can't do that, but you can. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is, so you get a sense of the scale. There's a person down there. And then this was my favorite part of it, when they had other events at the Whitney and they'd leave the signs on. Because I think just the pools of light that they created and just how they kind of animated the space in a different way is what I thought was the best. This summer, there was an article about the Park Avenue Armory in the New York Times, and they had, I think, this image in the newspaper, and so I was like, wow, I really like that photo. Why do I like it so much? And I was like, oh, my piece is in the back of it. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, the signs are in storage now, but I wish they still had them. So I have a couple of images of them being made. And they're heavy. The 4 out of 5 that are the big ones, they're over 200 pounds a piece. So. Okay, so after the biennial, I was an artist in residence at the Mattress Factory in Pittsburgh. And, a lot of you probably know about the Mattress Factory, or maybe you've heard of it, but it's this great installation, space, museum. So they took over an old mattress factory, which is actually why it's called the Mattress Factory. And they actually have a couple of different buildings now, but in the large building, it was an old mattress factory, and so oftentimes they'll give an artist a full floor to work with. I was in a group show that was in the smaller building, and the piece that I proposed to do when I went out there was to continue on with my disaster series. So I decided I wanted to make a high wind environment. So when you walked in, you could barely move. Like, it was almost this really scary experience. Well, it would have been a scary experience. And so I spent the summer researching it, talking to physicists, wind tunnel experts, fan companies, explaining what I wanted to do. Then I got to Pittsburgh, and I was there for 3 out of the 6 weeks of my residency. And I just hadn't gotten enough yeses. So the space that I was going to show him was not large enough probably to create the kind of wind that you would need to have this intense experience. And on top of that, there wasn't enough power running to the building. It would have been really noisy, so kind of rude to everyone else that was in the show, because it would have been all about my wind tunnel. And but I mean, ultimately you want your piece to work, right, if you're spend that kind of time and energy on it. So I had 3 weeks to go, and I had to come up with a piece. So there are James Turrell's at the Mattress Factory, and you know, I've been thinking a lot about light, about sort of binary states, or the way things look different as the light changes. So the staff there built me a curved wall. It was like, I guess like 13 feet long by about 8 feet tall. That took up, you know, a big part of the room. So, so this is from the back. And then we hung these red, green, blue, and black light fluorescent tubes that were programmed. So as you were in the space, the light would be changing on the wall. So the slides that I have are mostly of kind of more intense hues of light, but they're also, you know, were very kind of pale bits of light, like lilac or light yellow. So along the wall, I hung glow-in-the-dark thread. And it was actually 5 different colors, like I think pink, yellow, green, white, something else. And were illuminated by the black light, they would all turn into this green color. But depending on what color light was coming out from the fixtures, you could either see the strands of the thread or not, as the case may be. So this one, you can barely see that they're there. This is another one where you can barely see. And then here's under the black light. And they were only attached at the tops. They also moved slightly in the breeze. So I really like that idea of playing with your perception and of having kind of like a changing light show or a changing perspective on what you were seeing and how the wall was broken up or not, as the case may be. I got kind of greedy because I had this room and I could do whatever I wanted to it, so I decided I was going to make a piece outside of the room as well. So I think it's easier to see. So I was at the top of this building, so I painted these boards and put them into the window with fluorescent paint and then had some black light tubes in the window, and I called it night light. So I thought, even if you didn't go in the space, just if you went by at night and happened to look up, you would, you get to see a little bit of art or a little bit of a surprise. So, and I'd also been thinking about, which is kind of, I don't know if it's that interesting of a question, but what if you could see rainbows at night? What would that look like? And I realize that has nothing to do with rainbows or what they are, but I thought, well, in my own universe, I can create whatever I want in terms of a rainbow. So this is my stab at it. Okay, so all right, so we have like four slides left, and then we'll be right at like 30 minutes, I think, and we can go on and look at the video. So I've most recently done a little bit more work with glow-in-the-dark threads. I've made some large installations, like 12 feet by 12 feet, where I had like 400 strands of glow-in-the-dark thread. So they sort of looked like a forest, or I don't know, yeah, like a forest. But once again, that's something that's kind of hard to set up, and it's also hard to document. And then I also became obsessed with the idea of covering light tubes and making them look different through the materials that were on them. So this piece is from 2010. It's called Untitled Star Sticks. So there's a little bit closer version of it. So this is pressed cork, and where it's pressed and there's nothing there is where the light comes through it. So I did a version of them where they're sort of static sculptures, and then I did another version where I mounted one of them on a motor, and they spun around, and they're going at different speeds. You can't see this from the slide, but because of your persistence of vision, you create like these full circles of it. So this is, so I guess this would be, yeah, I'm really interested in light. I think it's so ubiquitous that it often fades into the background, but I think it's a worthy, I guess, material to bring to the foreground, and yeah, so I'm going to make more videos at night probably, and I'm also going to make more things that have to do with lights and various permutations. So yeah, I don't know if you have any questions. I really didn't stop, did I, so that people could...
Do you want to take the business words, or do you want to take the...
Well, I guess if anyone has any thoughts or anything they want clarified, or I mean, otherwise I could just move into showing the video. So okay, I'm going to take that as a vote that we're going to move on. So this piece is called Night Parking, and what I did is I went around industrial locations in New Jersey and different parts of New York City, so Manhattan, Queens, Brooklyn. I don't think I went up to the Bronx or Sacramento for it, but and this is not part of the disaster series. It just really, I think, has to do more with my love for showing industrial landscapes at night.